Super Retro Force.
Hey everybody, Scorpio Caesar here, part of the Super Retro Force. And I don't know if you've noticed, things have been kind of quiet lately on the Xbox 360 front ever since the Xbox Live Marketplace has officially shut down back on the 29th of July. Now, I put up a video reminiscing a bit about the Xbox Live Marketplace and some of the pickups that I did throughout the years through the digital storefront, some of the games that I had a lot of memories with. You can check that video out in the top left hand corner of your screen. It'll also pop up in the end card. But today, I think we need to address the FOMO buying for the Xbox 360. I don't really see anybody talking about 360 pickups anymore, 360 games that you need to buy. Now, me personally, I've pretty much stopped cold turkey buying up 360 games unless there are some that I really want in my collection. But I'm really happy with my Xbox 360 collection so far. But I do also have a stack of Xbox 360 games that I haven't talked about yet on my Xbox 360 FOMO buying series. So to wrap up this series, I want to talk casually about some of these games, whether I feel they're worth picking up or not, like we have been doing these past couple of months. So that out of the way, welcome to the CesArcade.
Get ready.
Today we're starting off with Vampire Reign. Now, this was a stealth-focused game which obviously wears its inspiration on its sleeve. Not necessarily one that's fondly looked back on, and it was once rated one of the worst Xbox 360 games, and just one of the worst games of the 7th generation in general. Now, there have been reports that a lot of people were playing the game wrong, and the guns are pretty much useless. The game wants you to play by its own rules. Now, how is that different from any other game? Well, this game isn't really as flexible as most games are when it comes to the stealth mechanics. You have to be on point in order to get any sense of enjoyment out of this game, and you have to be willing to sit through a lot of bad voice acting and some really long, boring tutorials. Now, from what I've played, I feel like the game has some sort of promise to it, but I'm not holding my breath. I didn't pay that much for it, honestly, and neither should you. It was also released on the PlayStation 3 with a different cover art called Altered Species. Honestly, whether you get it for the 360 or PS3, it really doesn't make a difference. Portal 2. Now, this was one I had on the PS3 for the longest time, but once I heard it was backwards compatible on modern day Xboxes, of course I took the opportunity to pick it up, especially since it was only $5 complete. Portal 2 is a game that surpassed the original in every sense of the word, and it also adds a co-op campaign along with it. Me personally, the story was very entertaining, the characters, what little there was really well voice acted, and I still think this is one of the best puzzle style games you can ever get, and it's a first person game as well. So definitely pick up Portal 2 if you haven't already. It doesn't matter what system you pick it up on, but remember, it is backwards compatible. Next up, we have a wrestling game that I never imagined it being as expensive as it was, but I do believe this is the most expensive SmackDown vs. Raw game out there right now. It is SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 on the Xbox 360. Now, what makes this one so special on the Xbox 360 is that it was a 7th generation exclusive. The PlayStation 3 wasn't out at the time that this version came out, so the game came out on other consoles like the PlayStation 2, but it did get an HD port, and this was the first time that the Uke SmackDown games ever made it outside of the PlayStation 2, and it was a moment to be remembered. I remember playing the game back when it first came out and being floored by just how great the wrestlers looked in this game. Now that I'm looking back on it, I can see that I was watching it with rose-tinted glasses because the game doesn't look as impressive as it once did. I remember the music for this game was absolutely phenomenal. The soundtrack for WWE Smackdown vs. Raw 2007 had a lot of early 2000s rock bands in it, and it was definitely worth listening to. So if you're a fan of wrestling games, you might want to pick up Smackdown vs. Raw 2007. Next up, we have a pair of third-person shooters with not so likable protagonists, let's be honest here. Kanan Lynch and Kanan Lynch 2 Dog Days. Now, the Kanan Lynch series is an infamous one. It's made by Eidos and IO Interactive, the Hitman guys, and it was a game that was poorly received when it originally came out. Like, it didn't get horrible reviews, it was pretty mediocre from what a lot of people said. Remember Jeff Gerstmann from GameSpot getting fired over giving this game like a 6? Kanan Lynch 2 Dog Days had a better reception, but not quite like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. That being said, the sequel is backwards compatible with modern day Xboxes. For some reason, the original game, not so much. I don't know why they did it that way, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles with this one. Next up, we have Prince of Persia: The Forgotten Sands. Now, I feel a lot of people actually forgot that this game even released. You see, it came out around the time that the movie was coming out, so I think a lot of people kind of lumped this in with like a movie tie-in, which wasn't the case. I do believe that this takes place within the Prince of Persia Sands of Time timeline, and is definitely worth checking out. It's still a really good game, especially on the Xbox 360 and PS3. Next up, we have a couple of hack and slash games that were exclusive to the Xbox 360, 99 Nights and 99 Nights 2. Now, these two in particular, I remember playing the demos for and not being too thrilled with them, but it was a FOMO buy. I was like, listen, these are games that are probably going to shoot up in price, and this one is still around $10. This one is a bit more expensive to find the complete in box. I got it loose for like $10, and I ended up printing out a cover art for it. It's a gaming series that I don't really have too much love for, and like I said, it was a FOMO buy. Stupid me. I didn't have to do it. I shouldn't have done it, but I did it anyways. At least I can say, hey, I have these Xbox 360 exclusives in my collection. Even though me not being really a big Dynasty Warriors fans, but these games do have RPG elements in them and are definitely worth checking out if you're a fan of the genre. Next up, we have MX vs ATV Untamed. These MX games and ATV games I never really played. This is like the first one that I actually own, and I only got it because it was in a claim sale and I got it for cheap. I forgot how much I paid for it. It was probably like $5 or $7. It's also backwards compatible with modern day Xboxes, so it feels really good to play, and I love the vibration in the controller. You really feel the force feedback with all the different types of terrain that you're driving on. It's not quite the MotorStorm experience, but it's still a competent racer if you're a fan of this type of game. Next up, we have an action RPG called Venetica. This was also released on the PlayStation 3. Didn't hear a lot of people talking about this one. I just remember it popping up on the store shelves at GameStop and being like, what is this game? I've never heard of this game before. And I kind of just forgot about it, and I'm sure a lot of people did as well. It's not a great game, let's face it. It's not going to keep you up at nights. It's a serviceable action RPG with dated graphics engine, and I'm serious. I mean, look, she's not crying because her dude was stabbed in the ass. She's crying because the textures haven't fully loaded in yet. And who the hell is this? Why does she look like a bird? I don't know, but the jury's still out on this game. When it came out, it got like 5s and 6s. I still want to play a little bit more of it because I like mediocre games, and I decided to pick it up. I paid around like $20-something for it. It's probably not even worth that much, but hey, I picked it up. FOMO buying. That's what happens. Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. This is another game that ranges around the $10 to $15 price range. Came out on the PS3 as well. And what it basically is a parody of Duke Nukem. And this guy is like put in all these different video game scenarios, and it's like a fourth wall breaking inside joke throughout the whole thing. It's not the worst game out there. It's serviceable. It's got some humor in spots. The gunplay is okay. It's not that great. But it's also backwards compatible on modern day Xboxes, so I figured, why not? It's a game I was always interested in playing, so I decided to pick up Eat Lead, The Return of Matt Hazard. Next up, I saw this game pop up in somebody else's video, and I was like, you know what? Let me check this one out. This looks more up my alley. The Testament of Sherlock Holmes. Now, I'm not a really big Sherlock Holmes guy, but I do like investigative, detective style games, especially games like LA Noire, you know, like the Ace Attorney series, games like that. And this is more or less what that is. It was published by Atlas, surprisingly enough, and the graphics in this game look really good actually, considering that it kind of came out and nobody really talked about it. If you're a fan of mystery murder games, this game is definitely for you. The Testament of Sherlock Holmes ranges from around $10 to $15. You could probably get it for cheaper than that. I definitely suggest you all pick this one up if you're a fan of those type of games. Next up, we have a first-person shooter that's been kind of gimped. I don't even know if the servers are still online for this one or if anybody still plays it, but here it is. Enemy Territory Quake Wars. Now this was like a $5, $6 claim in a claim sale. I couldn't pass it up. It was a game that I was always curious about playing. The Enemy Territory series is a popular game series on the PC, and they decided to cross over with the Quake series for this release in particular. You can either play as the humans or the Strogg, and it's actually pretty fun, especially when you can play with all these bots. Now it'll be even better if you play with a bunch of people, but unfortunately the glory days of this game in particular are long over, so I'm pretty sure the online community is long dead. Unless you're playing on PC, of course. Next up we have another military first-person shooter, and this one I got like for $5. Frontlines Fields of War. This was another first-person military game. There were plenty on the 7th generation of consoles. I mean, they were everywhere. You couldn't turn your head without seeing a military first-person shooter during this time. Frontline Fields of War is another one of those games that came out at the time and kind of came and went. A lot of people played, I'm sure a lot of people played it and probably enjoyed it. From what I played, it's okay. It's just like any other first-person shooter. It's got some quality to it. Sure, it's a little bit of janky here and there, but it's not offensive. Probably worth checking out just for the single-player campaign if you're a fan of these type of military games. And it was dirt cheap. You could get this game for like $5, $6. Let's face it. It's backwards compatible on modern day Xboxes as well, so that's always a plus. Next up, we have a heavy hitter. This one was pure FOMO, because I remember wanting to play the PlayStation 2 original and never getting around to it, but I absolutely loved the art style on the box arts and the cover arts. And this is an exclusive on the Xbox 360. It's JRPG. Probably worth checking out, Shinky, if you're a fan. Magna Carta 2. This game looks gorgeous just from the artwork alone, and it's a multi-disc game. I decided to pick it up because, like I said, it's one of those games that only came out on the Xbox 360. This one already ranges around the $40, $45 price range, so you might want to check this one out if you're a fan of JRPGs. And last but not least, in today's FOMO pickup video, this one, once again, pure FOMO. These two were like $40, $45 each. I forget how much I paid for them. One of them I got off eBay, the other one was at a claim sale from Cali Claims. And that is the Transformer War for Cybertron and Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Now, a lot of you have posted in the comment section in my previous videos that I should check these games out. Now, I remember when they first came out, I played the demos for them and really enjoyed what I played. However, I never got around to picking them up, and the problem with that was that I was never a Gen 1 Transformers fan. Gen 1 came out before I was born. It was like in the late 80s, if I remember correctly, and it was more like my brother-in-law's kind of thing. Me, I personally grew up with Beast Wars. That was my Transformers series. However, these are very, very good and regarded as some of the best Transformers games out there. It's unfortunate that they haven't gotten a remaster yet. Fall of Cybertron in particular did get a PS4 and Xbox One version, but it was only released digitally and has since been delisted since Activision lost the rights to Hasbro. I know Hasbro has since said that they were interested in remastering some of the classic Transformer games, so hopefully we get a remaster of these two at some point for modern day consoles. It would be fantastic, especially since the gameplay in these third-person shooters are just so good. These are both worth checking out if you haven't picked them up already. They're available on Xbox 360 and PS3. And that pretty much wraps up this Xbox 360 FOMO buying series. Now, we've since watched as prices kind of stagnated, since I'm at a point right now where I'm really satisfied with everything that I've picked up for the Xbox 360 within the past 4 months. So much so that I want to focus on another console from that generation, and that is the PlayStation 3. Anyways, everybody, I hope you all enjoyed this series of Xbox 360 pickups. Be on the lookout because I plan on doing more general pickups like the whole rebuilding the game wall with other consoles, not just focused on PlayStation 3. And I hope you're all there for it. I really do wish you all well. Thank you for tuning in once again. Check out the Super Retro Force, and I wish you all a good game and good night.
Super Retro Force.